Okay. Yeah, just wanted to introduce tonight is Social Media 101. We've got a lot of great information to give you about social media, which is a very hot topic these days. We are recording this session, and so, Lindley, I'll turn it over to you. We've got tools to engage your club members.
Thank you, Debbie. Hi, everybody. I'm Lindley Hitz. I'm from Talkmasters down here in Columbus, Georgia. And today I'm going to talk to you about really the basics of social media. Now, some of this you may be kind of rolling your eyes at going, yeah, Lindley, everybody knows this. But what I find is that what I assume people know is usually more than they do. So my goal is to just sort of level set where we are with some, not all of the social media platforms because there are bazillions of them, but the most common social media platforms, and then help you understand how you can use them with your clubs. So first we're going to talk about, again, the most primary platforms that we use: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and then we've got some others that we'll just briefly touch on. And then we're going to talk about the content and what you can put on these platforms. One of the biggest challenges that I see in both organizations like Toastmasters and also with my clients, because I'm a digital marketing specialist, is that they can get set up on the platforms and they're all gung-ho, but they have no idea what to post. It's that blank page syndrome that you used to get when you were writing an essay for school. It's, you know, the world is your oyster and you don't even know where to begin. So we're going to talk about the 3 E's of online content. Then we're going to talk about some of the helpful tools that you can use. All of them, I think, are free. There are paid versions of all of them, but all the tools that you can use to help make this a little bit easier for yourself. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. But if you do have a question in the middle of what I'm talking about, when I pause, because I'm a good Toastmaster and I know to pause, just speak up, because I don't want to take us out of the context of what we're talking about and then have to come back to it. So if you have a question about what we're talking about, please stop me. I have no problem with that. And I look forward to your questions. Don't feel like there's a dumb question, because if you have a question, it's not dumb. And I would much rather you ask it here than to leave here and not know the answer to it. So our first platform is Facebook, and I will admit that Facebook is where I spend most of my time. And I'm not alone, because Facebook has about 2 billion, with a B, monthly users. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, well, it's only older people who use Facebook. Young people don't use Facebook. Well, Facebook's demographics do tend to skew a little older. The teenagers are not on Facebook like their parents and grandparents are. But in terms of probably our demographic for Toastmasters, most of them are on Facebook. We even got Debbie Thompson on Facebook. So you know that pretty much everybody's on Facebook now. So Facebook is a great place to start if you're looking at a way to connect with your club members or potential club members. So you'll notice that I've broken these down into the 5 W's and an H, which should really have a much more sexy title than that. But so your who about Facebook is your audience. So who is out there? We always say in digital marketing, we say you need to base the platforms that you market on. You need to base that on where your customers are. And first you got to know who your customers are, but then you have to go to where they're hanging out. And your customers that are on Facebook are primarily of all ages, particularly in the demographic that we tend to target for Toastmasters in general. So the what is your content? And again, this kind of goes down to, you know, what on earth am I going to post once I get there? Of course, with Facebook, on your personal feed, you can post your status, which is what you're doing, whatever that may be. It may be, you know, this morning I shared a picture of my water shoes because I went to the Aquafit class. And some people share, you know, what they're having for dinner, and some people share really thoughtful, insightful thoughts. You can share articles that you find. You can share other people's posts on Facebook, which is pretty unique among the social media platforms. Sharing other people's content on Facebook is completely kosher, totally fine to do it. Facebook makes it easy to do. Same thing with memes and that sort of thing. You can share your own photos. You can share some people's photos that you find. It depends on how their visibility is set up, their privacy is set up. So pretty much almost anything goes in terms of Facebook content. Facebook itself loves photos and videos. And so the more videos and photos that you post, the more likely that content is to be shown to your audience, whether it's your personal feed and your audience is your friends, or whether it's a business page or an open page like what we have for, say, the District 14 Toastmasters page. I'm going to talk a minute in the difference between a page and a group on Facebook, but in general, everybody has their personal feed, and then your business feed is probably, or your business page, excuse me, is probably the place that you're going to reach out to prospective Toastmasters and maybe even your existing Toastmasters club members. Usually, your personal feed is limited to your friends, but you can adjust that. You can make your personal feed public so that everybody can see everything you post. And by everybody, I mean even people who have no idea who you are, which is a little bit scary. And I don't do a whole lot of publishing on my public feed, but I do on my business page because business pages are all public. There is no way to limit the content that you post on a business page. And so that's around visibility. Now is as good a time as any to talk about the difference between a page and a group. So Facebook has a number of different entities, I guess is the word, or ways that you can interact with people on Facebook, particularly people that you may not otherwise know. So you've got your personal feed that is limited to your friends. There are Facebook business pages, and they're not just for businesses. You can do business pages for social organizations, professional organizations like Toastmasters. I have one for my community orchestra that I play in. You can have pages for, you will see some people have like public figure pages. So I don't know, you have to apply to be a public figure on Facebook for them to recognize you as a public figure. And I believe that you have to have like a certain number of followers before they recognize you as a public figure. But you'll see public figure pages and that sort of thing. So, but in general, a Facebook page is one person, usually the page admin, or maybe a couple of people, if there are multiple page admins, posting to the public. So it's not something that, like, if you're not an admin on a page, you can't post an original post onto a page. Our District 14 Toastmasters page is administered by Debbie and me, and then also Greg and Brenda from the District Trio have the ability to post on our District 14 Toastmasters page. And the purpose of that page is, and the audience for that page is really prospective Toastmasters. So not really people who are like, hey, I'm all over Toastmasters, I'm a member, you know, I am in. It's really more of a way for us to promote Toastmasters externally to people who are not currently in Toastmasters. And the fact that it's public makes it a lot easier to do that. Facebook groups, on the other hand, there are different levels of privacy. You can have a public group, and our District 14 Toastmasters group used to be public until about a month ago. And the problem with public groups is that they're public, so anybody can post in them, which means you get spam, you get people posting just not even necessarily like inappropriate content, but just not applicable content that's just not really what anybody in that group is interested in. So we made the decision within the district PR team to privatize, I guess, that group, to turn it private. And that just means that anybody can look for it and find it in the search, but they have to request to join the group. And when they request to join the group, they're presented with a list of, I think, of 3 questions, and we ask what's their current Toastmasters club, if they are in good standing with Toastmasters, if they've paid their dues and that sort of thing, and what they're hoping to get out of the group. And that's really just for our knowledge, so we can tailor the group's content to what the group wants. But it allows us to make sure that the people who are either asking to join the group or who are invited to the group by other members actually belong in the group. For example, the District 14 Toastmasters members group is meant for District 14 Toastmasters. We had someone invite someone from Maryland into our group, which is not the purpose of our group. So that we politely rejected that person from the group because that's just not who we're targeting for this group. So again, groups can be public, they can be private, or they can be secret, which means that you can't find them through search and someone has to invite you. If you have a need for a secret group for your Toastmasters club, that's fine, but just know that people can't find it, and you have to invite people to be in that group specifically. So that's Facebook groups and Facebook pages. For District 14, we have one of each, but their audience and their content is going to be different. Now, Facebook in general, and again, this is not a hard and fast rule, but in general, people are most active on Facebook between Thursday and Sunday. So primarily weekends and mid-afternoon in the weekend, during the weekends. And that, if there is a local time associated with it, we usually consider that to be local time. So it's not to say you shouldn't post something at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. You can, certainly, but the nature of Facebook and the way that the Facebook algorithm works and the way that Facebook feeds work is that Facebook is going to, using all of its machine learning and artificial intelligence, is going to show you the content it thinks you're most interested in seeing. And a lot of the way that it does that is who among your friends or among the people with whom you're in another group, how they interact with that content. So the more interaction you get with a piece of content, the more people Facebook is going to show that piece of content. So really figuring out when the right time is to post throughout the day and throughout the week, there really is a science and a little bit of an art to it. When you're an admin of either a page or a group, Facebook's insights will actually show you the most active time for the people in your group or who like your page. So you can kind of customize that to your specific audience. But in general, weekends are very active. I believe that Saturday and Sunday are like 32% more active than the rest of the days of the week. So there you go. The purpose of Facebook in general is to create conversations. Now, if you've been on Facebook for more than about 15 seconds, you know that all of those conversations are not positive. A lot of those conversations are pretty negative and can actually turn pretty hateful. Nothing that we have experienced in any of our Toastmasters groups or pages, thank goodness. But the idea behind Facebook is to connect you with other people so that you can have conversations around the content that is posted on Facebook. And content is what Facebook is all about. And that content, like I mentioned, can come from lots of different places. You'll notice on a lot of websites and a lot of blogs, they give you the ability to share directly to Facebook. That's because that's where that conversation really happens. And it increases the exposure of that content when you put it on Facebook because content is shared so much on Facebook. And really, in a way, Facebook, that's what makes Facebook pretty unique from the other social media platforms that we'll talk about, is the blatant sharing of information on Facebook, whereas some of the other platforms really, it's either frowned upon or it's just not easy to do. So content really is your main focus on Facebook. What you're going to post, when you're going to post it, and then how you engage with people on Facebook. And we'll talk about engagement in a little while. But so Facebook, again, is a great place for you to connect with your club members, to connect with your fellow district Toastmasters using either primarily our Facebook group. I mean, our Facebook group is really the best place to connect with other Facebook users in District 14, but then also our external Facebook page as well. So I'm sure most of you are probably most familiar with Facebook. Any questions on using Facebook within a club, or even just general questions about Facebook? Now y'all are all like, yeah, we know Facebook. Come on, get to the good stuff, Lindley. All right. So next we're going to talk about Instagram.
Lindley, I'm sorry. I had to get myself off mute. If a charter club is considering a Facebook page, what should they, and I'm sorry we have to go back, but what should they do it as a business page for their club?
Well, it depends on what the purpose of their page is and who their audience is.
Okay.
All right. So if they are looking for, and I would say this applies to any club, but if they are looking for a way to help their existing and new club members connect to each other, share information, share ideas, share resources, a group is really going to be better for that because, and the main reason for that is, in a group, any group member can post content. So if I'm just a regular member of a group and I see something that I think is particularly interesting that I want to share with the group, I can do that. On a business page, the only people who can post to a business page are the administrators of that page. Now, as a member of the public, I can comment on a post that is made by a business page, but I can't post or share content with the followers of that business page.
Okay.
So it really
goes back to
a one-to-many as opposed to a many-to-many.
Okay. It goes back to what you were talking about with page and group and what they really want to do with their club Facebook page. Okay.
Exactly. I mean, it really comes down to your audience and your purpose and what you want that group or that page to be used for. So,
okay.
I mean, there's a really specific reason we have one of each for District 14 is because they have really different audiences and really different content that we're trying to share in them. So,
okay.
Because a prospective Toastmaster who has no idea what Toastmasters is about doesn't care about, TI's branding information, but existing Toastmasters need to know that information, because we obviously don't know it because we use our branding incorrectly. So again, it's all about your audience.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a question, Lindley.
Absolutely.
Facebook. Here's the question. So when it comes, I know you didn't talk much about Facebook Live. So when it comes to Facebook Live, is there a distinction between being able to go live on the private? Can you go live on the actual public, the private page versus the public facing, just like the district PR that page? Can you go live on both of them?
That's a good question. So for Facebook Live, in general, the same rules apply for as they would for posting content. So on the District 14 Facebook page, the business page, there are only 4 people who could post content. Me, Debbie, Greg, and Brenda. Any of the 4 of us could go live on that district page, and I think Greg has done so before. But we're the only people who could post content or go live. Now, within the group, any member within the group can go live right now. We have it set, and that's a setting within your group that you can actually choose whether or not you want anybody to be able to go live or only admins to go live. We decided that we would allow it until it became a problem. And it hasn't become a problem. Okay. So, honestly, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm listening because I'm thinking, I'm sorry, this is Randall Leon Brown 1.0, but I was definitely thinking through some applications of it and, or some opportunities to do that.
There are a lot. Facebook Live is there are a lot of opportunities with Facebook Live. The scary thing is, you know, if you go live on a public page, then anybody can see it. If you go live on your personal page, any of your friends can see it. Within a group, especially if it's a small group, it can actually be a great way to practice being live on the internet, you know, because I mean it could go for you know, for Instagram TV as well, which I don't really have plans to talk about a lot about, but you know, for Toastmasters in particular, I think Facebook Live has a lot of interesting applications. I mean, obviously it's not for everybody, and it's a different skill set, but there are a lot of opportunities there. I would recommend, if you did want to go live within, say, the Toastmasters group, let us know so we can be there to support you in it. Because, you know, just because you can do it doesn't mean that it always works, and doesn't mean, you know, sometimes you don't know if things are working right. And if that's something that you want to do, let us know. But I have actually set up, you know, anybody can set up a Facebook group. I have set up Facebook groups with me and my husband to make sure that when I went live, I knew what he was seeing. You know, and then I just deleted the group because I didn't need it anymore. And then, you know.
And then here's a short follow-up question, if I may. I want to get to the other aspects of social media, but when it comes to the Facebook Live post result, that link afterwards. So if we made that available, could people see that particular Facebook Live posting if we posted the link and they were not a part of the group?
So no.
I don't know if I phrased that correctly.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. So any content that is posted within the group is only accessible to people who are members of the group. Doesn't matter if it's live, doesn't matter if it's a recording, doesn't matter if it's an image, doesn't matter if it's a status, none of that matters.
Oh,
so
I can't post the link to that outside.
Right, so you couldn't, now that's not to say that you couldn't then do something with that video content after the fact, but if you go
that's
live,
what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, I'm saying after the fact, after live, and now it's in the threaded history, is there a way to copy? I can look that up, but I was just curious. You know, went live with a business meeting or something like that for Toastmasters, and then, you know, people want to actually see the results of it later on. Could that be, you know, put on a website perhaps?
Absolutely.
So people can click it later and they're not a group member.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I apologize. I thought you just meant like taking a live and sharing it directly from Facebook. You don't even get the option to do that within a group. But yes, you can download a Facebook Live once, like, Facebook does its magic with it or whatever. And once it's available as a recording, you can download it and you can put it on YouTube. You can put it, you know, upload it to Google Drive and share the link out to people. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways you could do that, certainly.
Thank you for that.
That's a great question. And really, Facebook Live, and I guess video in general, could be an interesting topic, Debbie, for a future PR session, because it's going to become more and more a part of our daily lives. And
it's
knowing,
it's
going to be the norm. And really, the Facebook algorithm, the mysterious Facebook algorithm, makes they give a lot of weight to video, particularly live video. So if you can kind of get yourself into that habit of using live video, the more people Facebook will show that video to, and will show the rest of your content to. And so in terms of growing an audience, particularly if you were, let's say, outside the context of a Toastmasters club, let's say you were looking to become or build your reputation as a public speaker, and you wanted to create, say, a business page for yourself, Lindley Hips public speaker, whatever. Going live on your Facebook page is a fantastic way to do that. And it allows Facebook to promote that content in the algorithm a lot higher than it's going to, you know, promote even, say, a link to a YouTube video, because, you know, Facebook, YouTube may not like each other very much because they're owned by separate companies. So Absolutely, and I think lives and video in general is something we need to talk about again because it's big for sure. Thank you for the excellent question. I'm going to move on to Instagram. So Instagram is an interesting platform because Instagram is very, 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 very visual. You can't post you can't post content that's not visual on Instagram. You are only prompted when you go to add content to Instagram. You're only prompted to either upload an image or upload a video. That's it. There is no such thing as like a status on Instagram. So it's very different from Facebook in that regard. It limits the type of content that you can share. That being said, the expectation of the kind of content and people and what people go to Instagram for is also very particular. Instagram is a lot more popular with the younger set now, and really that is actually growing. It's funny to see the stats with Facebook. It's pretty consistent from like 18 and up. Facebook is pretty consistent in terms of usage. Instagram skews a lot younger. That's not to say that there isn't interesting stuff on Instagram for people who are older than 45, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff on there for the younger people, and that's what they're really skewing towards. So younger people like images and videos. Now with images, captions are big. Instagram does not allow you to post links to, say, an article or something like that. You won't see an option to share something, to share a blog article to Instagram because it just doesn't work that way. You can share it as text, but it won't activate as an actual link. The only way you can add a link to Instagram is there's one option for a link in your bio, and that's it. The other thing about Instagram is that in general, Instagram really, really prefers original visual content. They want your pictures, not other people's pictures. Now that's not to say you won't see like memes and stuff like that around Instagram. You certainly will. But you have to use a third-party app to even share content that you find on Instagram. There are a couple of them. Repost is usually the one that you see most frequently. But Instagram really encourages original content creation, which I think is one reason it makes it so engaging, because you don't see the same thing over and over. If you spend any time on Facebook, you know that you tend to see the same memes, the same stories, the same things over and over. Instagram, you don't see that nearly as much. Most popular days for Instagram, I have no idea why, are Mondays and Thursdays. And the best time to post, according to Instagram, is between 8 and 9 a.m. Now, again, that is always going to vary depending on your audience and where they are and what they're doing and really the kind of content that you're sharing. The biggest tip that I can give you around Instagram is hashtags. Hashtags are the key to getting your content discovered. And when you're looking at Instagram as a platform for promoting your content, whatever it is, whether it's a picture of your dog, which is what most of my Instagram is, or if it's, from a business perspective, promoting tips or tricks or value information, that kind of stuff. Hashtags are the way to get that content discovered. This was back in the summer, I did a little experiment that I keep saying I'm going to write a blog article about, and I haven't done it. But I went through and did a lot of hashtag research and figured out what hashtags were really resonating with my audience. And this was on my business page, and I had virtually no followers. I wasn't really even posting a lot of content anyway. And And this wasn't like earth-shattering content either. It was like, here's a quote from Walt Disney or whatever, which you'll see a lot of on Instagram. Not just Walt Disney, everybody. But when I was at about 40 or 45 impressions, which means that people who had seen my post in their news feed for some reason, and that was either people that had liked my or who were following me. That's the terminology Instagram uses, following me, or they that had found it from a hashtag that they were following. When I went through and did really detailed hashtag research, and then I added hashtags to my posts a couple of days later, my impressions went to 400 and 500 and 600 and 700. I didn't add people, I didn't add followers, but it was the hashtags that did it, because you can follow hashtags. For example, we're down here in Columbus, Georgia, and there is a Columbus GA hashtag that people in Columbus use. And there are local hashtags pretty much everywhere. But I am now making connections with people in Columbus because of my Instagram feed. People I don't know, but because they're following the Columbus GA hashtag. So again, it's a great way to get your content discovered. The content is all visual, not text-driven, although you could put text within the image that you use. I mean, it can be, like I said, a quote or whatever. It can have a lot of content in it, and then you can have lots of text within your caption. But it is still very heavily visual, and that is something that's a little bit hard to get used to. Does somebody have a question?
I have a question. Yeah. Just want to make sure I'm clear on your terminology, because you used the word impressions several times. Is there a definition associated with that, or is that more lingo?
So there is actually an official definition, and it depends on the platform as to what the official definition is. When you look at your insights, and in order to see insights on Instagram, you have to have a business profile. Now, unlike Facebook, it doesn't really affect your discoverability or your visibility within Instagram, like in Facebook, it really kind of does. But your having a business profile as opposed to a personal profile means you get Instagram insights. But with Instagram insights and with Facebook insights, you can see both the reach and the impressions. So reach indicates the number of individual users who have seen that piece of content. Impressions is every time that piece of content has been seen, even if one person saw it multiple times. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
It is confusing, and it really is, because you'll look at your insights and you'll be like, why is my reach 93 and my impressions 600? And it's like, well, you may have used, it may be that, and you probably wouldn't have that big of a difference there, but your impressions are always going to at least equal your reach, if not be much, much higher than your reach. So reach is really the number of unique users who saw that piece of content. So impressions will kind of give you an idea, that reach is really what's going to tell you how many people saw it.
I have one more question.
Yes.
The question I have is centered around hashtagology. I want to make sure I understand the hashtag. Is there a way to, when people are using certain hashtags, how do you know what hashtags are popular? There's no search for hashtags, is it?
So from Instagram, and actually, I'm going to end my slideshow for a second and see if it will let me. Will it let me? I don't want to end I actually want to share. Can y'all see my Facebook page right now?
No, you have to actually click on the share for the particular content, whether it's the internet or a slide.
Select items to share. There we go. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share. Apply changes. Okay, I'm going to open Instagram real quick, if I can spell. And everybody, like Instagram in general, so this is my business Instagram. If you go up to the search bar and you type in, let's just say Toastmasters, you can see how many posts, and this is, I think this is lifetime. I don't know. That's a good question because I'm not sure, like, if that's over a certain period of time. So there have been 173,000 posts that have been hashtagged Toastmasters, and only 43,000 that have been hashtagged Toastmasters International. And you can kind of go through and see, okay, well, and there are different variations of that, and everybody does things a little bit differently. So, and there truly is a science and an art to hashtagging, and that would be a whole separate session within itself because, and it would need somebody else to run it because I am not a hashtag master, but I am working on it and I'm learning more about it. So you can find out how many people are using a particular hashtag at one time. What's challenging about Instagram and we'll talk about Twitter in a second, that Twitter does really well. Twitter will show you the trending hashtags, but Instagram, it's really more curated to you and like what you are interested in. So finding like the overall trending hashtags is a little harder. You can see like if you come to your Explore tab or your Discover, on the Discover tab, you can see, okay, there are pictures of, here's this nice lady with her sweet baby and somebody writing on somebody else's back. Like, so you can see like what some people are, what's happening, and that's got some bad language in it, I'm not going to show that. But in general, there's not like a good place to go to find out here are all the trending hashtags within Instagram. Now, there are tools that you can use to find hashtags and the popular hashtags. So it's really just something that that you kind of have to you have to do some research on. And if you put in Instagram hashtag trending, you'll find a lot of sites that will help you do that. But
Thank you
the thing about trends, the thing about trends is they change about every second. And so really finding, it's in Instagram, it's less about trending hashtags and more about the hashtags in around the topic that you're talking about. So like I'm in digital marketing, so I have a set group of hashtags that I use around digital marketing strategy, social media strategy, and that kind of thing that a lot of the people who are in my industry also post under, so I can see a lot of their content too. So it's really more industry driven as opposed to overall user driven, if that makes any sense.
So it's like what's popular in your field as opposed to what's popular in the general public.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Lindley, right, I want to make sure, we have time to go over everything.
Okay, so Instagram. It's a lot of fun. Get ready to fall down the rabbit hole, though, because you can waste a lot of time on Instagram. I do want to touch on two more. LinkedIn, and most of us are probably on LinkedIn. LinkedIn tends to be an audience that most people come to LinkedIn for professional business-related connections. You do tend to have a lot of folks on on LinkedIn who are looking for jobs. I hate to say it, but it's true. A lot of people are out there trying to kind of make their mark from a thought leadership perspective. You get a lot of business related content. A lot of companies post a lot of information on LinkedIn in terms of recruitment and that kind of thing. You don't see, I shouldn't say you won't see any memes. You'll see some memes, but nothing like what you'll see on Facebook. And really the focus it's just a more professional focus. You do see a lot of folks sharing other people's content, like on Facebook, but it is more of that business content. In general, when you are on LinkedIn, you will connect with other people, and your newsfeed will show the content that is shared by your connections, and that's LinkedIn's terminology, they're your connections. Because LinkedIn is a more professional platform, you do see people posting, or excuse me, people are more active on LinkedIn during the middle of the work week. They're also pretty active in times where you might be, say, commuting to work, hopefully not driving, but if you're taking the commuter train to work or whatever, so between 8 and 9 a.m., around lunchtime, around time to get off of work, people look at LinkedIn a lot more around those times. Not so much during the day, and not really a lot at night. They're on Facebook and Instagram at night, but during the day, you'll see a lot more people on LinkedIn. And again, LinkedIn, the purpose of LinkedIn is to connect with other people within your industry, people with similar professional interests, people who you might be interested in working for one day, that sort of thing. One of the things that's really interesting about LinkedIn to me, and everybody has their different perspective on who they connect with on LinkedIn or who they connect with on Facebook. But people are much more likely to connect with people they don't know on LinkedIn as opposed to on Facebook, primarily because the content that you share on LinkedIn is more professional. You don't share pictures of your kids on LinkedIn usually. I mean, some people do, but you don't share like personal stuff on LinkedIn. It's more professional. And so people are much more likely to connect with, you can connect with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and you couldn't really ever do that on Facebook, more than likely. So LinkedIn is a great way to make contacts within your industry or within your local area. From a Toastmasters perspective, I think we have a lot of opportunities with LinkedIn that a lot of us are not taking advantage of, because a lot of the skills that we learn in Toastmasters are so applicable to our business world and to our business lives that I think we could do a lot more recruitment on LinkedIn than most of us do. Certainly at the district level, we're not really working on LinkedIn at all right now, but that's on our radar for later. I don't see a lot of Toastmasters clubs on LinkedIn. I do see individuals posting about Toastmasters, and so you'll see that occasionally. But it's a great way to connect with people in a personal way, so you have personal contact with them, but that is not so personal that you would, where you might not connect with them in Facebook and that sort of thing. So again, LinkedIn, great platform for the kinds of stuff that we're doing in Toastmasters. I'm going to skip ahead real quick unless we have some questions on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, I really recommend creating yourself a profile and just start kind of poking around and connecting with people. And you'll see how people are much more likely to connect with you. And there's a lot of really good content out there too. Not as much junk as there is on Facebook. And the last platform we're going to talk about in depth is YouTube. And the reason that I wanted to talk about YouTube is, again, kind of touching back on what Randy was mentioning earlier, it's a very visual platform, and it's so obviously very video heavy. I mean, that's what you get on YouTube. You can't really share anything except video. I have seen people share content that is actually like audio content, that they'll just have like a static image or something on YouTube just to share that audio content, because we don't have a lot of really good audio sharing platforms. But in general, video all the way. Audience, ideally, well, in general, YouTube has about 1 billion monthly users. I read something somewhere that said that between the ages of 25 and 44, those people have more access and more frequent access to YouTube than they do to broadcast network channels, television channels. I will say YouTube is insane for kids. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing for kids, but kids love YouTube. And the reason for that is somebody somewhere decided that watching people unbox toys was a great thing to record and put on YouTube, and now literally there are 6-year-olds making millions of dollars a year doing this with YouTube advertising. So there is a lot of stuff on YouTube be very careful with YouTube, but there's a lot of great content on YouTube as well. YouTube is a really robust video sharing platform. So one thing that you can do, and we mentioned this earlier, but you can actually share videos publicly on YouTube, which means anybody can find the video, anybody can share the video, you know, anything like that. Or you can actually upload a video and it can be unlisted, which means that nobody can find it via search, but you can send anybody the URL, that direct URL, and they can see the video. So if you wanted to, say for your club, if you wanted to keep a library of club presentations that your club members had done, YouTube is a great way to do that, and it'll allow you to maintain that library, and it will allow your team members or your club members to share that content out on their own, but you don't have to worry about people, you know, coming in and seeing that content unless you really wanted to. And then there are also secrets. You can upload it as I don't remember what YouTube calls it. I think it's private. I don't think it's secret.
Yes,
but
private.
It is private? Okay, thank you. And that means that you can only certain people who you have invited to see the video can see the video. So that, you know, I have videos of my child on YouTube that I sent to her grandparents, you know, because it was too big to upload to Facebook, and I didn't want to, you know, put it out for everybody to see. YouTube, interestingly, best time to post on YouTube is during the week, Monday through Friday, early afternoon. And the reason for that is not when most people are on YouTube, but it's the best time to post on YouTube because it gives YouTube's search servers time to index your video by the time people start getting on YouTube at night to waste hours and hours of their lives watching YouTube videos.
Wow, great point.
So that is not as big of an issue on some of these other platforms just because of the way that YouTube content is shared. It is a social media platform, but it's really more of a media platform. The social is sort of secondary, whereas Facebook and Instagram are kind of the opposite. You'll see a lot of how-to videos on YouTube. Literally, like I have figured out, my husband figured out how to replace a capacitor on our TV or something and saved us from having to buy a new TV. I have learned how to crochet on YouTube. Like there are so many things that you can do on YouTube. You'll see software demos on YouTube. You'll see people who go to YouTube strictly to become famous. There are people, literally, like I said, who are making millions and millions of dollars because they're YouTube stars. And there are children who want to become YouTube stars, and that is their goal. I don't really get, but YouTube really is a platform for launching careers, public careers. It's crazy. But one of the things that's really interesting about YouTube, and this is true, I think, for social in general, is that the content is more important than how polished your video is or how produced it is. The more produced it is, really the worse your video will do on Instagram. People like that sort of homegrown feeling. Obviously, if you're like, you know, a Fortune 500 company, you want your stuff to look polished. But if you're an individual, you don't have to worry about making it look perfect. Perfect is not the goal. Getting the content out there is the goal. One of my clients is actually a dental milling center here in Georgia, and they have one of their technicians decided to do just kind of a little walkthrough. It's about a 20-minute video, a day in the life of a dental technician. And he just took his camera and he walked around and kind of talked to the people in their business. Never shared it anywhere. It has over 20,000 views. Organically, people just finding it. I don't even know how people found it. So, like, content is huge and is really important on YouTube. And there's a lot of, like, in terms of search engine optimization with YouTube and metadata tagging and all that stuff, there's a lot to that as well. And I am not an expert at that at all. But YouTube is super accessible for people who want to, you know, get out there and share what it is they know or they think, again, which means there's a lot of junk out there and there's a lot of really good stuff out there. So YouTube can be very powerful. The other platforms I wanted to mention, just in case you've heard about them and you're like, hey, is that a thing? So Twitter, obviously, has been around a long time. Twitter is completely public, really. Anything you post on Twitter is available to anybody. Twitter is like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much content on Twitter constantly. Twitter is great for companies who are looking to, say, it's a great way for people to get in contact with companies. So, like, I've tweeted companies and asked questions, and they've answered me and that sort of thing. Twitter is also a place for people to shoot off at the mouth, as we have seen. So, Twitter is out there. It's available. I don't know of really anybody from a Toastmasters perspective that's using it, but that doesn't mean that it can't be used. Same thing with Pinterest. Although Pinterest is really interesting. Some people don't think Pinterest is actually a social platform because there's not a lot of social interaction on it. But Pinterest is a visual way to it's kind of like a virtual bulletin board. And it's a visual way to keep track of information. So it's a great way to discover information. A lot of people, there are things that I go to Pinterest to search for before I go to Google to search for it, that sort of thing. A lot of travel information on Pinterest, a lot of recipes on Pinterest, a lot of craft stuff on Pinterest. My dad uses Pinterest for classic car pictures because that's what his interests are, and that sort of thing. Reddit is a completely different animal, but it is absolutely a social media platform. It is. I don't even know if we have time to get into it. If you're interested in Reddit, hit me up later and we can talk about it. It's interesting. Meetup is a great way for you to advertise your Toastmasters club meetings to people who are looking for them. Meetup is probably something we need to have a PR webinar on in the future. I think we've had them before. Have we had them before, Debbie?
Yeah, I think so, but we probably need to do it again.
Yeah. Because it is a way to, the whole point of Meetup is to advertise social gatherings that other people might be interested in. And as a user, it's a place for me to go to find out what's happening in my area. WhatsApp is interesting. I was not a WhatsApp user until about 2 weeks ago when one of my clients asked me to join it so that we could talk. It is a completely secure, encrypted way to have an audio or a chat conversation. I wouldn't really call it very social. I haven't used it in social ways. You'll hear people talking about WhatsApp. It is bigger, I think, in other areas of the world than it is here. But WhatsApp is definitely something you'll hear out there on the interwebs. Same with Snapchat. Snapchat is sort of similar to Instagram, but because it is very visually focused, it's very image and video heavy, but the snaps disappear after 24 hours, which means that it does get a lot of activity, nefarious activity, we'll say. So just be careful on Snapchat. The younger set loves Snapchat. It has a lot of great filters and stuff like that you can make fun pictures on and stuff. But again, Snapchat is one of those things that I don't know that you would necessarily use it for Toastmasters. I'm not saying you couldn't. You might absolutely use it. But I wanted you to kind of know basically what it is. It's a way to interact with people in a more visual mode, but the messages go away in 24 hours. Just so we don't lose the opportunity to talk through the 3 E's of content, I want to move on to that really quickly because we got 5 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the biggest challenge is, what do I post on social media? Right. You could post anything, which means we go into, analysis paralysis and we don't know what to do. So the way that I do this for my clients is I think about the 3 E's, which are educating them, entertaining them, and engaging them. And what do I mean by educating them? Well, that's pretty obvious. And so some of the educational content that we have posted on our District 14 Toastmasters group, in this case, it was in the group, are today's PR training, for example. You can create events within groups and events on pages that can help you communicate educational opportunities for your club members or for people who are interested in learning more. It's a great way to say, to promote, say, an open house, that kind of thing. With an event specifically, you can indicate whether or not you're interested in attending, that sort of thing. You can invite other people to that event, etc. In terms of educational content, a lot of the stuff that we share in the group, it tends to skew more towards the educational. So, like, this is actually it's a Business Insider article that I believe includes a link to a YouTube video that is of the newest public speaking world champion, and it's their analysis of the body language trick that she uses, which since contest season is upon us, maybe we could all get something out of that. We will be posting more educational content in the coming weeks and months around pathways, around TI, the resources that are available on TI's website that a lot of people don't know about. Some, just FYI, seeing opportunities that are available. Again, not necessarily like this is a class you can take, but here's stuff that we want you to know that could be useful for you as a Toastmaster. So educational content is always something useful for your team, for your club members, but it's not always the most entertaining. So entertaining content. Now there's an overlap with engaging content here in a minute, but really people come to social media to be entertained. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. That doesn't mean that it has to be frivolous, and you can use any of this content to help spark conversation, because that's really what social media is about. It's about being social, right? So a couple of the things that I've seen recently that have sparked a lot of conversation are this list of 40 old-fashioned skills that kids need to know today. And I have to admit, there are a lot of these that I may not know, but a lot of them I do. And for me, it makes me think, oh, well, my 7-year-old probably needs to know, how to do laundry. I'm going to work on that really soon. She needs to start earning her keep. The same thing with this Fonts Matter one. This one makes me laugh because I've studied graphic design in school, but how the font you use really can change the meaning of your words, and that's something that we need to keep in mind when we are posting on social media. So again, entertaining content. I'm sorry?
Was that the fonts? What did you say? The fonts you use? Is that what you said?
The fonts you use, yeah.
Okay.
So if you use a scrolly, scripty font, to say, you'll always be mine, it's all lovey-dovey, but if you use one that, looks like a ransom note, you'll always be mine means something really different. So fonts absolutely matter.
Right.
But again, this kind of entertaining content, not all of it is appropriate for, your audience, but don't be afraid to share this kind of content. And the third E is engaging content, and that's content specifically meant to get people talking. So we posted one in the group one day last week. What are some of your favorite meeting themes that you've done? What'd you do? What were your table topics? Like, part of this is not just to get folks talking, it's actually to help to share ideas, because if you have to come up with a meeting theme, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Everything's been done. But if you can hear from somebody across the state, that they've done this kind of meeting, maybe that can give you an idea, and maybe you can kind of go from that. So it's not just about posting engaging content, it's also about posting valuable content for your users. Again, you can do within the group, you can do a poll. So we posted about district conference coming up, just again to engage people, to see who all's going, who all's interested, who all's thinking about going, who has no idea what district conference is, because that could tell us something too, right? If somebody said, what's district conference? We'd go, oh, we need to do some promotion around that here. And then again, this, you can keep only 3. It can probably go on the entertaining slide as well. But I've seen these go around, and you could even, something like this, you could create your own little graphic, and I'll tell you how in a minute, and, you know, do a Toastmasters version of that. You know, you can only answer, you know, 3, or you can only pick 3 leadership positions. Which ones would you want to pick? You know, that kind of thing. So again, fun, engaging, valuable content is what's going to get people talking. So those are the 3 E's. Now, some people, and I think of this occasionally as well with my clients, is emotional content also can do really well. It really depends on your audience and what you're doing. But, you know, a lot of the feel-good stories, the warm, fuzzy kind of stories, or really hitting their pain points, you know, and identifying, you know, especially if you're, you know, if you're trying to communicate what Toastmasters has done for you, let's say, and you want to share your story, I mean, that emotion can really engage people as well and can really, you know, provide value to other people. Even if it's your story, they might see themselves in it as well. So really, you can have a 4th E as emotion as well. Finally, there are 1,001 helpful tools I could probably list here. These are the ones that I use the most. You can schedule content into a group, onto a page. I don't think you can schedule onto your personal page, but you can schedule content onto your personal page. I mean, to a group page or a business page, or to a group or a business page using a number of different social media schedulers. Natively within Facebook, you can do it. There are free apps like Hootsuite and Buffer that allow you to do it. So you could schedule content for months in advance if you wanted to. So you could just buckle down, you know, one day and just schedule everything you needed to schedule. And you could tell what time of day for it to go out and all of that. And Hootsuite and Buffer in particular, they integrate with all of the major social media tools: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't know about YouTube. Some of them integrate with Pinterest, and some of them don't. Like they're scattered a little bit. But the 4 main ones that we talked about, Hootsuite and Buffer, can get you really far down the road, even on their free plan. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely check those out. My favorite tool for creating graphics is Canva. There is a free version of Canva that's pretty robust. There's also a paid version that is not very expensive, and if you do a lot of it, it's totally worth it. Adobe Spark Post and Adobe Spark Video are also great platforms as well, both free. And there are a lot of video ones that you can use. I use InShot. I also use one called Kira that just adds like sparkle to pictures and video, that kind of thing. So there are 1,000 different tools that you could use. But just know that you don't have to, you know, go into Microsoft Paint and create your graphics yourself. Canva has and Adobe Spark have thousands of templates that you can use. If you need things like just stock photography, Unsplash and Pexels and PicMonkey, there are a number of those. If you just want to have just, you know, general stock photography, if you don't have what you want, there are a lot of free ones out there as well. So don't feel like you have to do it all on your own, and don't feel like you have to do it, you know, every time you post, you have to go in there and do it at that time. There are a lot of options available to you out there, and so many of them are free. So it's really worth it. All right, I've gone over time, and I'm sorry. I like to talk about this stuff. What questions do you have?
Oh, I have a couple. I think Reddit had some problems with security in the past. I think they improved somewhat. Is there still some problems with the security on Reddit?
I think because Reddit has seen it was one of those, they kind of outgrew their security protocols because they grew so quickly. I think they have gotten things back under control now. I haven't heard about any problems lately, but I am not a huge Reddit user. When I was in corporate IT, I used Reddit all the time because there was so much good information that helped me support my platform. But I really don't use it much now at all. but you bring up a good point. No matter what, I mean, no platform is infinitely secure. So, be smart about it. Be careful about what you post. Don't post identifying information on, forums like Reddit and that kind of thing. But I mean, I think every big company has had some sort of breach at some point. So just be smart about it. Look for any suspicious activity and that sort of thing.
Okay, and also, is the Storyful a video app too?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is it Storyful a video app too? Storyful?
Yes. I have not used it, so I can't say for sure like how it integrates. It is more of an app to create videos and not an app to share videos. Like it's not really a social media app. It is a video creation app that you can then take that video and share it on social media. But it's another one. I mean, there are thousands of them. One of the newest ones, mark my words, people, TikTok is going to be huge. And they have recently, it's starting to see the surge. And so, and it's more of a music kind of, although it really doesn't have to be music, but it's more of this, the short clips and everything that you see, less so of on YouTube. But TikTok and, Storyful is another one. There's a lot of them like that are, some of them are kind of fly by night. Some of them are, you can tell that they're going to stick around. So, but yeah, I mean, again, this is the kind of thing like go into the Facebook group and say, hey, I have this great app that I've been using for so-and-so in my club, and you guys might want to check it out. If you're interested in a way to, to add captions to video, for example, InShot will allow you to add captions to video, that kind of thing. All of that, that's really why we wanted to create this group to share that kind of information to make to add value to everybody. So yeah, absolutely.
I guess I have kind of a tip too.
Sure.
A lot of times people are using the paid applications like Zoom, but Facebook also allows people to have a multiple video chat. So sometimes if a particular club may be using their Facebook page and maybe they can't get to their meeting location because of weather or some other instance, and then using a Facebook group video message could be a good option for them to kind of continue the member experience on days that you can't get to the club.
I think you need to go post that in our group, Randy Leon Brown 1.0.
That's a great idea.
Really is. Are you a member of that group? I think you are. You should go post it.
Sure.
But yeah, any of that kind of stuff that we can share with other people, and it doesn't have to be stuff that has been successful. You could go, look, I tried this and this bombed, just FYI, so you don't waste your time with it. I mean, even something like free conference call. I didn't know about this service until I was in Toastmasters. There are a lot of people who don't know it's available. And we have a lot of folks who may need to do this kind of thing, maybe not every week, but who may need to do a presentation, a slideshow presentation over the phone or something. So any tools like that can make our lives easier, experiences that you've had, anything like that. That's the social in social media, and that's really what people come to social media for is that value. Any other questions? All right. Well, we will get the recording, whatever it is that you guys do with the recording, we'll get this taken care of, and we will link to it in the group later on this week. So please, if you're not in the group, please join the group. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, drop me or Debbie a note, and we'll make sure that you get the information you need. And then when we do post that link in the group, please go in there and comment on it, because that's going to make people take more notice of it, because people are commenting on it. It's going to pop it up to the top of the feed in the group, et cetera. So go in there and say, here's one thing I learned from this training. That's my call to action for you. My challenge for you is when we post the recording in this group, in the Facebook group, go in there and post one thing that you learned from this training. I will too, because I've learned some stuff.
That's D14's Facebook you're talking about?
D14's Facebook group, yes. The group, not the page.
Where can I find that?
You can actually, if you just search for District 14 Toastmasters,
okay,
you'll see probably the page may come up first, and then the group. The group has more members in it. The group has like 1,200 members or something, and the page has 140 followers.
Wow.